evening. I apologize for the late arrival, and let's go ahead and get started with the Climate Action Commission meeting this evening of August 12th. We're going to start. Go ahead with what's our first event here?
Like a roll call?
Roll call.
Yep.
Perfect.
Commissioner Baston?
Here.
Commissioner McCloskey?
Here.
Commissioner Heiderman is absent currently. Commissioner Ward? Here. Youth Member Stevens? And Vice Chair Conlon?
Here.
And Chair Morrell?
Present. Here.
Thank you.
So the first item that will be the approval of the agenda. We have an agenda as proposed. Do any commissioners have any amendments to the agenda?
My only amendment is that Calvin's last name is spelled wrong.
Which one? Say again, please.
Calvin's last name is spelled wrong.
Calvin's last name is
I
spelled
take
wrong.
full responsibility for that, Calvin. You have my sincere apologies.
It is fine, thank you.
So in the future, of course, that will be properly noted.
It will be remedied.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Antoinette. All right, so our next, otherwise in the agenda, everything is approved. Going once, going twice, it's approved. The first item this evening will be, before we approve the minutes, a special presentation. Members of the public or other agencies may present information or items of concern to the commission. We should have comments from the public first. Open public comments. Ms. Cornwall, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the group who already know you. Thank you.
I'm not sure everyone knows me. Hi, I'm Caitlin Cornwall. I'm from Sonoma Ecology Center, and I just wanted to bring to you a couple of news items that seem relevant to your commission, and some of you may already know about these. I'm not exactly sure, but they seem important because they relate to the aspect of climate action that is about reducing emissions from transportation, which is where most of our emissions come from. So, and again, I don't know if you already know these things, so I apologize if it's repetitive, but the city was going to be doing a plaza master plan, and then the mayor, I don't know exactly how the decision was made, but I know the mayor supported this change to, instead of just doing a master plan for the plaza only, to do a citywide parks and recreation master plan, which includes options for walking and biking, which is a major way that we can reduce emissions in the city. So I think that's relevant to your commission, and the Ecology Center is really delighted that this could be happening under the mayorship of a landscape architect. It's a really great opportunity, someone who really understands design and how space can serve the public in various ways. So that's great. I don't really know what the timeline is, but there is a budget. They have $250,000 dedicated to this, and there is an ad hoc, 2 members of the council that is starting the scoping process for that. So that seems good and important. And then the second item is that the city partnered with the Ecology Center on a grant proposal that was awarded by the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And the amount is $243,000, and that funding will start flowing very soon, like in the next month, I think. And that project will fund the city to do some trail signage and safety installations, mostly on the bike path, but I think there are some other locations as well on streets that are often used by bikes. And then that grant will also pay the Ecology Center to do some ecological restoration and maintenance of various creeks in the city, many of which have trails alongside them. So that's an important part of keeping those trails attractive and used is taking care of the creeks. So just wanted to know about those things, and that the Ecology Center is cares about the climate-related behavior and performance of the city. It's one of the things that we want to urge the city to do as well as it can on, and partner with the city also, and be helpful in whatever way we can. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. Are there any questions for Caitlin? Comments from commissioners with this public presentation? Tom?
I don't have any questions, but I'll just say that I do hope that we have now a new priority conservation area designated within the city limits. And my understanding is that there isn't really any trail through that area. It's in the area, I think it's near the hospital roughly. And that to the extent that any research and improvements could be made to improve that, the connectivity of that corridor strikes me as something that would be worth taking a look at, because we do have the crosstown citywide bike trail through the Vallejo property out to the former Spastiani production facility. And that one, I live on that trail. It's a great crosstown route. But there isn't a great way to get through the more inhabited part of the city south of Napa Street. So that's just something we noticed when we were looking at the active transportation plan. And thanks for the opportunity.
This grant is actually from the Priority Conservation Areas program, so all the work that is funded under it is in PCAs. Are you referring to the Safeway property in Fire Creek in that area?
I'm thinking of the connection between, I'd have to look at the map again. I think it's between 3rd West and 5th West, maybe even out to 6th West. There's like a little zig that goes along there, there's a designated line in the PCA.
Okay. I'll look
map. It's
closer.
worth taking a look at. I believe it is now formally designated, so, thank you.
John, your light is on, are you? No, okay, just a light, but you're welcome, of course. Caitlin, thank you. This is consistent and supportive of discussions that this commission has had over some months over what we lovingly call the Green Links idea, building in climate smart Sonoma a true network of walking, biking, children-related trails that will really meet the needs of our residents and our visitors. So this is certainly consistent with that, and excellent. I would only add that while I so much enjoy the paved path that runs past the Vintage House in some distance, it could use more trees. And if the tree planting plans could please include more shade on that path, that would be greatly appreciated by the current commission chair, and maybe others, but certainly I'm speaking for myself. So tree planting on that walking path would be greatly appreciated.
I have a question. Is Mike making a connection that the two of you work together?
Do we work
Do
together?
Caitlin and you work together?
Periodically.
I see.
I mean, why would you care?
Oh, I was just wondering if she reports to you.
No, and I don't report to her in an official way. I serve on the board of directors. You want details, much of which I suspect you already know, Dr. Leo. I serve on the board of directors of the Sonoma Ecology Center. I have done so for years. That has, of course, never been hidden. Caitlin is a senior executive or official at the Sonoma Ecology Center. I don't work for her. She doesn't work for me, except in the sense that staff works for a board of directors in some ephemeral manner. Is there anything else you'd like to know about that relationship?
It's good to keep that open. I think that could have been brought up. That there was some connection.
Why would that matter to you?
Because, just for
You
transparency.
consider a conflict of interest here?
Legally, like in contracts, that could be. I mean, if we're going to have some.
It's a public presentation being
No offense. It's just.
Oh, I take offense by your whole attitude.
If it was a
But it's not the first
exchange
time.
of dollars, that's all.
You're suggesting that I paid her to be here this evening? Is that your insulting suggestion?
I didn't say anything. I didn't say that.
You talked about paid.
No, there's a,
Word
if
paid.
there's a contract of dollars to be paid, yeah, calm down. She's telling you that if there are
You're the one
dollars,
she's telling to calm down, sir.
if there are dollars exchanged, it's good for the public to know that dollars are exchanged by members of the Climate Action Committee and people making proposals in front of the Climate Action Committee about access to grant money. That could be useful
Why on
information.
earth would you expect dollars to be exchanged with a public presentation? Where would you come up with such a concept? Such an ugly and insulting concept, sir.
I think you're mixing your issues now. I think you're becoming emotional.
That's not much of an answer to your insult about being paid for a presentation. And I'd like an answer.
I did not say anybody was being paid. I said monies would be exchanged. In a
That's a
contract.
distinction without a difference. It doesn't require a contract to exchange money. Of course not. Antoinette, would you like to lean in here on the
I would.
misbehavior of a commissioner?
I would. At this time, I don't believe that there's been any money exchanged, and the grant that was discussed in the public comment was a grant that was applied for by the city in partnership with the Ecology Center. I would appreciate if we could keep it civil and respectful,
As would I.
so that we can all continue the meeting. If there's no further commissioner comment on the public comment, I'd like to move forward to the next item. Does that resolve for you, Chair Morrell? Is there anything you'd like to add?
It does,
Okay, thank you.
provided we maintain proper decorum.
Absolutely. Item number 2 is special presentations, and I don't have any special presentations scheduled for you at this meeting, but I did add that agenda item in hopes that we could have some fun special presentations at future meetings. So I'll come up with something great for the next one.
It's ironically very helpful in the sense that I had hoped to have a special presentation tonight,
Yes.
and I had failed to get those details on the agenda, partly because I recently returned from a lengthy international trip, and I've been dealing with that. But it's my error that I didn't get the special presentation, and I'm sure it will be ready for next time.
Wonderful. And it's back to you, sir.
And thank you. Our next agenda item is approval
May
of
I
the
say
minutes.
one thing about special presentation?
Yes, of course, John.
Just because it came up in one of our regional meetings at work about extra preparation in advance, or at least consideration in advance of the super El Nino, and how that might be linked to climate actions in Sonoma. So seeing that everybody's pointing towards an extreme weather event this winter, a special presentation about preparation for the super El Nino might be appreciated.
That's an excellent idea, and it certainly fits well with the work that Vice Chair Conlon and I have been doing on some of the climate adaptation issues that deal with some of these kinds of threats to the city, and questioning and supporting the city being fully ready for those events rather than scrambling to meet the challenge as it emerges. And that's a big issue for this commission and for the applicability. So I believe we're now at the approval of the minutes for the previous, unless there are other, we've gone to special presentations, so I guess we've finished with the, thank you, Caitlin, and the Sonoma Ecology Center, from whom I've received no money for Caitlin. Approval of minutes of the previous commission meeting of May 13th, 26th. That's been in the packet. Are there any comments on the approval of the minutes by commission members? Before we have a motion, I have one comment. My name is spelled with one R, not two. Other than that, the minutes look fine. May I solicit a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move for the approval of the minutes
Thank you, Tom.
with that correction.
I'll second.
Thank you, Amber. Motion made and seconded. I believe we're ready for a decision on that.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Baston? Abstain.
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
McCloskey? Thank you. Commissioner Ward.
Aye.
Youth Member Stevens.
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Conlon.
Yes.
And Chair Morrell with an
Aye.
R. Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you very much to all for that. The next item for discussion is item 4 this evening, the Climate Smart Sonoma EV Trolley. We have a number of points to make about this. I have some summary items. Is there anyone else of the commission have comments on this item before I do a brief presentation on what I know about the movement forward? Seeing none, my update on the Climate Smart EV Trolley is as follows. Patricia Farrar-Rivas and I had the opportunity to speak recently with a gentleman named Jack Symington at the LACI, that's the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, about EV trolleys. LACI is very active in pursuing this option in Los Angeles, Southern California, and they bring real expertise to us here in Climate Smart Sonoma in terms of a potential EV trolley system. They envision 2 different kinds of EV shuttles serving Southern California and the LA area, and they already operate one. It's an interurban transport called Circuits, using a 10-seat golf cart style EV. LA Metro is involved in supporting the project. Transport is free to users. The vehicles they're currently using have a 40-mile range with quick charging, so they are able to recharge and keep moving. San Diego, and I'm informed a city in Florida, I don't know which one, operates similar systems according to Mr. Symington. He also introduced us to an interesting Southern California firm called Maxwell Vehicles. It's an interesting website for any of you who want to look further. They create longer EV shuttle systems with vehicles as retrofits of existing diesel vans designed for use in an urban shuttle service. It has a new EV engine and is much cheaper, maybe $80 to $95K for the upgrade, compared to buying a fully designed EV bus, for example, which would run close to $500K. These vans have a range of about 150 miles per charge and can be recharged on a level 2 charger. So it offers us an interesting option to get started, and raising 80 to 95K from our community will be a good deal easier than raising 500K. Maxwell Vehicles website tells me they convert both gasoline and diesel vans to EVs. Quote, Maxwell offers an electric ProMaster drivetrain with best-in-class price and performance. Nice to know. With both new and reconditioned battery options, the ePro represents the future of sustainable vans. So it's an interesting option for us to look at. They have a 200-mile range. They use fast chargers. They charge up to 2.5 times faster than other EV vans. And good for Sonoma, public benefit customers would qualify for a discount at Maxwell. So that was the lesson that the former mayor and current council member and I learned from talking with LACI. Other than that, there's been no further movement forward that I know of on the EV trolley. Antoinette, further comments on where we are with this? We do have a route proposed and so on. I see it's in the agenda.
Absolutely. So I have met with Councilmember Farrar-Rivas, and we have discussed some of the options that have been proposed. She and I have met with a company that does execute and provide full service EV shuttles that are very tech-based for various cities, mostly just to understand how the business model works and what kind of costs and implications there would be for this city and for staff time. So we are going to continue those conversations. Something that did come up when we were discussing with Jennifer about a feasibility study and funds for a feasibility study and what we would want to see out of that before we begin looking at this project. One of the ideas that we received was, in lieu of a feasibility study, to run a pilot program for a very short period of time based on proposed routes and have the pilot program possibly be in collaboration with Sonoma, with the tourism, the Visitors Bureau, and the Chamber, and develop more of a partnership model for a future trolley than the onus being completely on the city. One of the goals we established in this project is that the city would prefer not to have to staff the drivers and maintain this, and provide the maintenance for any vehicles. And one of the companies that we spoke with provides the staff from local, and they try to use local job seekers, and they do provide all the maintenance and charging of their EV vehicles. And so it's still really big picture right now, but conversations are happening. And we've received some information from one of the companies that we've spoken with, and there'll be follow-up conversations. This project does satisfy, not directly, but it does satisfy a number of our climate action strategies, and would be very impactful, as you say, Chair Morrell, on the GHG emissions locally. That's the update I have. Any
That's
questions?
excellent, thank you for that update and
Sure.
for the initiative from the city. My presumption had been that a local company that operates buses for bus tourism, there are a number of them around in the city and in the county there, would be good. There's also initiatives underway to link Sonoma by a regular bus service with the SMART train,
Right.
probably over to Petaluma, probably with county transit. So that's another, wouldn't that be nice to make it electric, but at least moving forward with the public transit will be good. But any movement forward would be terrific in this regard. So thank you for that.
We
Tom?
are moving forward. Yeah.
Calvin?
There's just one thing I mentioned, which was I do wonder. I know I mentioned this last time, but I do wonder about this and the 30 bus, which does go to some of through Sonoma Valley, because they have recently. I discovered this last week. They have replaced a certain fleet of the 30 line with electric buses. I was in Santa Rosa and I had to take the bus back down. And it was a electric bus. And I do wonder when you say climates, when you say golf cart style, is it like those electric buses where it's like the hop on, hop off style? Or
Well, the golf cart style was the Los Angeles version that we were looking at. It could be a reconditioned van, which is also available from Maxwell, that LACI had encouraged us to talk to. There are a number of options. We're going to need to meet ADA requirements at some point. And it's a big step to have locations for the stops. We have a proposed route that would run through Sonoma. It's quite different from the run to Petaluma, obviously, to link to the SMART train. They're both important. One has to do with primarily with visitors, with some residents maybe going over for shopping in Petaluma. The local route would presumptively make a big difference over time for both residents who can do their shopping at Sonoma Market or Whole Foods by bus as opposed to car. So we could begin to get potentially fewer gasoline cars for residents. So they're complementary systems, but not necessarily competitive, except maybe in financing.
Yeah. And so they don't look like golf carts. They look more, so it's called micro transit, and it looks more like the little smart cars, but just longer. So a bus version of a smart car, so still small, is one of the options. Right. Those aren't necessarily accessible, so ideally there would be a variety of options. I did also want to mention that Sonoma County Transit just launched their new 40 route that is connecting to the SMART train during commuting hours in Petaluma.
So that's the 40X, I believe it's called.
The 40X, yeah.
That's a useful increment moving us in a climate smart direction.
Yeah, and it's a pilot program, so they're monitoring ridership on that to see if it's worthwhile. And then we aren't able to have Sonoma County Transit electric buses come all the way into the city of Sonoma because we lack the charging infrastructure that those buses need to leave the city of Sonoma.
I do notice
Okay.
they only go all the way down to the plaza.
Exactly.
I did think it was important part to mention, especially if we're talking about being climate conscious, is to mention the new fleet of electric buses for the 30 route.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we do have charging at the Corporation Yard on A Street East. I'm guessing from what you said that that couldn't handle a bus, but I really don't know.
We don't have the amount of PG&E load capacity at that site to put in bigger chargers.
So that would take an amendment to some of the flow of electricity into the 8th Street, which isn't a perfect location either physically, so
Yeah.
that's good to know, thank you. Tom?
Thank you. Good discussion. We've had commissioners very interested in this since the beginning of this commission, so I'm glad to see there's continued progress on this. I would also mention coordination, or at least benchmarking what's happening over in Petaluma with the micro-transit program LumaGo. The new application is called Access, and that's apparently sponsored by the Petaluma City Transit. And so they've already got regular buses, paratransit for qualified citizens or community members that need that, and then they've added this third on-demand shuttle service. And I don't know how they can manage to pull off all three of those things in a little Petaluma, but they seem to be committed to it and continuing to pursue that approach. So just making sure we're paying attention to that as we're planning our own activities. I do want to support the city's general goal, as you described it, of not wanting to own the vehicles and employ the drivers. There's going to be a lot of change in this space with autonomous vehicles coming online. But I think we can confidently say we're going to need electric charging capacity in the south part of the county here. So, you indicated we don't have capacity out at the Corporation Yard. Do we know if there's any place in the valley that has a surplus of load capacity that we could target for bus charging? I know that SC Transit has identified having a charging station for their electric bus fleet somewhere down here. So I'm curious if you've heard anything about that.
So the lack of charging capabilities for heavy-duty vehicles at the 8th Street Courtyard, that is hearsay. So, but internal hearsay. There are PG&E load capacity maps from 2025 that the city has, and in some of the future EV charging projects that I hope to be working on, I will pull those out, dust them off, and see if they are still accurate and what kind of what they can provide as far as locations for EV charging. The amount of EV chargers that the city wants to install and that residents want to see installed and that we would need for a microtransit program or just the increased volume of EVs will require addressing the load capacity issues with PG&E at some point. I don't know definitively exactly the where of those issues, but it is something I will find out, and I can share that with you guys.
Yeah, that's great, because the other piece of this is the time of demand. And we tend throughout the state of California, and probably here in Sonoma, have a surplus of electricity in the afternoon, in the peak of the day, and as a result of solar overgeneration relative to demand at those hours. And so to the extent that we could be putting in bus recharging, heavy vehicle recharging, and then maybe light pole recharging or employee recharging in places of work or shopping and other kinds of daytime parking spaces, all of that could help with the overall grid balance challenge that PG&E has. And so lots to feasibility study before we commit dollars to it, but it's well worth time. It's time well spent, I believe.
Absolutely. And there is a program that I was made aware of for one of the other projects I'm working on for businesses in the city of Sonoma if they want to install EV charging for their staff. There is a program, I believe, through PG&E. Are you nodding, John, or just? You don't know? Okay. I think it's through nope, it's through Sonoma Clean Power, has a program for businesses to install EV charging for staff, and it's significant. It's a significant rebate. The business has to be a Sonoma Clean Power customer, but that is just on the, I just found out about it, and I'm sure it's old news to some people, but I think
And connecting dots, the Green Business Program, as you're starting to dust that off.
that's the project, yeah. Yep.
Looking for opportunities for maybe making workplace charging a criteria or mandate potentially for participation in that certification branding program.
Yeah.
It's good to see that back. You know, your memo mentioned the Green Business Program is coming to Sonoma, but in fact, it was really started in Sonoma County a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the city did operate its own Green Business Program for a while. And so it's good to see us dusting that back off, getting the chamber back involved in it.
Yeah, and this is the state program that we're implementing, and so the certification is the criteria is, it's a point system, and you have to get a certain number of points in different fields of sustainability in order to receive one of 3 tiers of certification, and EV charging capabilities for staff is one of the criteria. It's a pretty expansive checklist, and it is included in there. The way the point system works is there's elected criteria and then there's mandatory criteria, and I don't believe that the EV charging availability for staff is a required criteria, but an elective one, but maybe you get more points for it. It'll be fun when we talk about it later, for sure, once we get started.
Antoinette, that sounds like a very interesting arena for us to have a presentation to the commission on that in a future meeting. So if you'd put that on your to-do agenda, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Leo, here, I would like to add that I think the 8th Street actually could be very interesting for the EV charging, even for projects like LACI, because it's a commercial area which PG&E could understand that they would have to boost the charging ability at that site, which is commercial, which could hold buses, and other commercial vehicles could tag along with that along there, because that's where property is available for redevelopment. And we could take some money from somewhere, it could be from LACI, instead of putting golf carts in, which bring up the problems that were brought up about drivers and things like that, and all the laws, the ADA laws. It might be, what if the city could get a plan, an architectural plan of 12 big rig chargers over there, plus cars, plus the city vehicles. We could really go for something like 36 or 24 charging stations. And it would be a lot easier to bring and trench along there, because there's the old easement for the railroad. So some of that should be more doable. Then they would just have to come from the substation where they are at, down by the crossroads of, Broadway and Napa Road, and they just have to get down to 8th Street, which isn't that far. And it's a big road there, and there might be redevelopment of that road where they could put something into a plan there. And then the other thing, I'm very into the fiduciary responsibilities of what we do here. So if we tackle the area, for example, of employees, increased numbers of employees at the city, we're already short-staffed, right, with employees, but to add and bolt on a project that, when it's scaled up, when you talk about scaling a project, that it results in bus drivers. And we're such amateurs at this, managing bus drivers, It's a very complicated business, driving big rigs and buses and all the licenses. It has a depth of regulatory environment that we don't know about. We could easily start a project and then end up in a lawsuit with people we had to retire because we can't really see this project all the way through, and now they want their retirement packages. I don't know what would happen with and how much unionization it would be involved, but I would imagine some kind of union would get involved to protect any mistakes we made in the HR area. That's the most costly thing a city can do. That's what bankrupted cities like San Diego. So, yeah, I would just always bring up Chairman Morrell, the fiduciary angle, always, and everywhere we go as we scale up these ideas. That's my input.
That's very insightful, to be sure. Our main model so far has been a private operator of the EV trolley, probably one of the bus companies that knows how to run buses, buy buses, maintain buses, hire bus drivers, insure bus drivers, provide benefits to bus drivers, rather than having the city do it. But either one, of course, is an option to be explored. Other comments on this topic?
I just have one short one, and
Yes, sir,
I'm
John.
sure it's gone around the horn in the past, and it has to do with like metered parking on the plaza, and I'm sure people have talked about that, and probably the merchants have been against it in general. But you know, it could be a source of raising revenue for projects like this, and also incentivizing people to not want to park on the plaza and to use our electric vehicles somewhere else to come in. So it's a possibility. I was surprised to go to the Santa Rosa airport and park like 4 blocks away on the street and still have a meter that was standing there for me parking on the street, that I had to, it's so easy these days with your phone to pop some QR code and plug in a couple dollars, and you don't really even think about it. I go over to the community college in Napa, and I'm going to go into a class, and they make me pay for parking to go into my class there. And for, an area that's so popular as a tourist destination with a state park, and it's so beautiful and has all these events, I'm sure it's been brought up before that we could possibly have metered parking.
Thank you, John. Amen is my view, and then I'll turn to Tom.
I'll just second on John's comment. I think it's a no-brainer, and the city can never complain it doesn't have enough money if it doesn't charge for parking.
It doesn't require meters necessarily. There are systems in Paso Robles and elsewhere that I've seen that work very nicely with signage and the requirements that you get a small kiosk, you use your Visa card, and you get a little piece of paper printed out that goes on your automobile, and then there has to be paid for enforcement. But these can be at some point. My personal view is the 2 critical issues for this commission and for Climate Smart Sonoma to be true to its name are the EV trolley and paid parking at the plaza and around. These are the 2 critical issues in my personal view.
I just wanted to ask the commissioners on this agenda item, is there any piece of information other than PG&E load data that you would like me to research for you to consider while we're working on this project?
I mean, for me, integration with the county's transit plans is fundamental for the reasons Leo mentioned, for others as well. We are not going to be experts at the city for this, and I can imagine that if we did bring in a third-party vendor who took on the risk of the project, that they would either have to be such a big-scaled outfit like Uber or somebody that they would be willing to deal with a small city without the risk of starting up here. We've had trouble even with just bicycle ride sharing in Sonoma County because of the similar kinds of third-party vendor issues. We have finally found one that's settled in over in the smart corridor through Marin as well. But just that I think this is too critical a service to the community for us to put all our eggs in a speculative private sector entity that isn't at a sufficient scale for us to have confidence that they'll be able to deliver over time. And part of that is that we aren't able to commit to them to do it ourselves or to commit to a longer term contract. So it's a very difficult space to work in, but the county is working on countywide regional transit integration, and so asking them for improved shuttle services, maybe it's a different form of vehicle, maybe we pilot it and show that it will work, and then they could sponsor the funding of it, or et cetera. Those are my ideas to this point. So encourage you to continue to have those conversations. The transit providers will be coming to speak before the SCTCA Community Advisory Committee, I believe in October, and I'm preparing to ask them questions about these kinds of things. So everyone's welcome to come to that public meeting as well.
Calvin, jump on that.
I have two things I'd like to be seen, which is first the I'd say emissions data from what this will help save emissions from cars. And when he mentioned integration, I think something that's very important is youth and senior accessibility, and also accessibility with regional uses like Clipper card. Like I'm a Clipper card holder, and I think Clipper card, but also something similar to SCT, Sonoma County Transport, and how they have free rides for those under 18 and older than 65 is something really important to be seen on buses.
Thank you. Good points indeed. Other comments on this topic? I certainly never imagined the city of Sonoma is going to be running this bus service as opposed to a private operator, but anything's possible. But city sponsorship is important, and some city funding with nonprofit funding is the model that I would imagine would work in a city like this that has some potential significant donors for something that's deeply climate smart, relevant, that could be mounted in an effective manner. John.
You know, I guess it occurs to me that whatever it is at the area where we're expecting people to park and take the trolley in would also be a mini destination in and of itself, and it might be an opportunity for some commercial development within the city limits, wherever it is that they're wanting them to park, to put a restaurant, coffee shop, you know, something like that. And if it was out there on 8th Street, you know, they could use a little like revitalization, business revitalization, so something to think about.
And there's certainly options for potential parking at the entry to the city down near the lodge. If the land was acquired in the proper way with the proper signage and so on, to have a potentially EV shuttle service starting from there. I think it's called Four Corners, occasionally that intersection. And right near there, the acquisition of land for that kind of parking could be really an important piece of the puzzle as we get serious about climate smart. I think we're ready to move on beyond 4.1 into number 5, unless there are any other comments. If I've missed anything, no, I have not. So we're going to turn first to 5.1, the Adaptation Committee. And I'll turn to my colleague, Mr. Tom, to report on the Adaptation Committee.
Okay, thank you, David. So our ad hoc committee consists of Chair Morrell, Commissioner Hinnerman, and myself. We met I met independently with each of them probably 3 different times. And as you'll recall, in our past 2, I think, meeting packets, there were rather extensive written update reports submitted. The takeaway from the most recent one and our work plan, our work for this quarter, was to review the documents in that report that I gave we gave last time, In particular, the Sonoma County Multi-Jurisdiction Hazard Mitigation Plan, which includes a chapter dedicated to the city of Sonoma. So it turns out to be only about 2,000 pages long, which took about a half a day to read. Getting pretty good at that stuff. And then David and I stepped through the sections of the report that were of most relevance to us in the city of Sonoma. And then I shared a memo with the city, which is not in published documents tonight, but that's because we really haven't had a chance as an ad hoc to fully discuss these things since this was issued. But the first point was that the scope of work already completed by the county and the city personnel is impressive, and in general, the identified priorities in preparation are well-founded. While now countywide mitigation actions seem to be primarily focused on reaching compliance with existing mandates and taking no-nonsense, essentially non-controversial actions wherever feasible. But of course, there's lots of constraints. There's not enough budget, there's not enough staff time, there's not enough capacity to implement everything that's identified as a potential mitigation action. And we have a sense that if you think about the whole purpose of a hazard mitigation plan, it's primarily to qualify the city for future grant funding, primarily through FEMA, to implement these kinds of actions that were identified. So I think the thrust of the commission is that we might do a very good job of assessing the risks and coming up with emergency plans and hazard mitigation plans that we don't have the budget to actually implement, but that we're making good faith efforts towards such things. However, climate change is happening so rapidly and so inexorably that we can only anticipate that the city's going to be challenged, and we're going to find ourselves without adequate capacity or resources to be able to properly prepare and adapt. So our commission current thinking is that much like in the urban water management plan, the city has, by state law, urban water management plans are required to have a drought contingency plan included in them. I am not familiar with cities being obligated to have contingency plans in other areas, but in water, because we know water is such a critical resource, there are such contingencies now required in state law. And the city of Sonoma has, through its most recently adopted plan, committed itself to stepwise contingencies in the event we don't have enough water. We go through a multi-season drought. And those are the kinds of things that say, in basic outline form, if the water supply constraints are so severe, we will implement voluntary measures to get people to conserve. If it continues to get more severe, we will then do other things. And there's a whole stepwise as to how severe the drought conditions become, what the city actions will be. So our thinking is that we need to sort of anticipate how bad things could get under a climate change scenario and start to have that conversation in the city, because clearly this is going to have lots of challenges for different stakeholder groups, different community groups, and no one, some people are going to be worried about one thing, other people are going to be worried about a different thing, and we need to have a conversation about it in advance, hopefully in advance, before we're actually under those constraints. So that's where I think that the ad hoc is right now, and our work this next couple of weeks is going to be to go over the work we've compiled to date, and then see if we can't make some recommendations to share with you at the next meeting. And of course, with council ultimately being our audience.
other comments on that. I would simply add that I believe this is a very important part of this commission's work to think through adaptation. We're seeing a lot of interesting insight and concerning insight out of Europe these days with fire and related heat issues that are quite strong, and we're likely to see some of that here. We know a bit about fire already here, and with the excessive heat, one thing this commission can be looking at is, from an adaptation point of view, what do we have in the way of heat support, particularly for vulnerable populations? Is it at the hospital? Do we set up a center somewhere at Whole Foods or Safeway? Or what do we do to deal with the risk coming sooner rather than later of a long-term, multi-day heat attack? And how do we deal with it, particularly with a vulnerable population? So that's part of the adaptation team thinking, but we haven't come very far yet about what's the right way to do it, who's going to pay for it, and so on. But something needs to be thought through before the heat hits the fan.
If I could just put one more bullet on that. The City of Sonoma's own chapter does appear to be appropriately customized for our local vulnerabilities and risks, and the detailed input of local staff shines through to my eye impressively in that document. I think that our fire chief and our fire marshal and our police services representatives and others on city staff, public works and others, have all clearly reviewed this material, taken it to heart, and are actively engaged. So that came through to me in reading through the city's draft. This is still a draft report, I should make clear. The state has to approve it, and it may come back with, I don't know, lots of red ink? Who knows? So City Council and staff also clearly recognize the city's inevitable role as a valley-wide provider of evacuee supportive services. And that's really something that is noticeable in the plan, is that the city's not just managing for its own geographic boundary, and realizing that if we do have incidents around the valley, people are going to be displaced and they're going to end up needing supportive services from the city itself. So I just want to be sure that was on the record tonight, something we're thinking about.
Thank you, Tom. Yes.
I would add something that I have detailed knowledge of, which is a Copenhagen climate classification out to 2050 for the Oregon border, south of the Mexican border, that there are 3 valleys from the coast. There is Petaluma, which is sort of an open valley. It's fairly open, not very many mountains there. There are mountains starting about Novato. You can notice they're about 2,500 feet. But north of that, as you go over there what's the first turnoff on 101 after 37? Where the shopping is. Roland, yeah. From Roland, if you look west, it's open, so you have a huge breeze cooling all of that. So Sonoma Mountain is very cooled down. And the maps show projections out to 2050 and even beyond that Sonoma will not have the risk that's associated with the Central Valley or Napa Valley. It will just never occur. So this valley is fairly protected. It's long. It's got a lot of air volume dumping out the bottom. It has a big flushing in and out every single day. I was just over on the east side clocking some temperatures today, and it was as low as 69 degrees, until pretty late. There's no high pressure builds over there, so the heat doesn't stack up. So I think the news is pretty good in Sonoma Valley for heat events of the type you hear in France. And I think we have plenty of time. I mean, I don't want to be an alarmist, but I think in the reverse direction, if we've got it good, we have it good. And I think it's pretty good here. And I think the maps will show there will be absolutely no change from just a warm Mediterranean climate. I could almost guarantee that all the way to 2050. So that means it's going to be fine, because Napa was fine for the entire history of Napa Valley for the last 100 years, It's only now becoming hot Mediterranean, which is equal to Sacramento. So I think it's pretty good. It looks pretty good for Sonoma. Good news.
So then I'd say maybe the concern would be, since this is a county-wide study as well, that our little area might be good, but we probably have to consider the implications of, we might have an island of goodness, but what, like our city being a hotbed for evacuees, you said in the valley, but maybe it needs to be the entire county since we have it good.
Or the globe. I mean, realistically, what's happening is the globe is being destabilized, and
Yeah.
people are going to be crossing borders. And so we may be lucky in that we're close to the Pacific Ocean and have the mitigating effects of that, but there will definitely be impacts that we have not thought about. So that's why we're thinking about it.
That's why we have an adaptation subcommittee. Calvin?
I mean, one thing to add in, excuse me, for that is that you could also look at the housing and the pressures from the state of California to build out housing for everybody, low-income housing. And the pressure is going to be applied maximally along the 101 corridor from Novato north. They are going to go there first, because that is an area that will become a competition for posh housing, because the temperature is going to be stable all the way to Cloverdale. So I think the low temperature here and the warm Mediterranean will persist, and Cloverdale is the very beginning of, it's the only little really hot spot in the county that I know of. It is in the county, right?
I'm not gonna say anything about Cloverdale.
Calvin, go for it.
I still think it's fair to mention, even if we're more cooler, that certain parts outside of the city of Sonoma, since there's more to Sonoma Valley, it still gets extremely hot in Sonoma Valley, even if it's more cooler. And many of these communities, especially in Boise, where it is way more harder for people to afford stuff, and the general income is way lower than the city of Sonoma, most people can't have air conditioners. And so I still think, even if it's cooler, heat stroke is still a massive concern, especially where I live in the Boise, where most of my neighbors don't even have air conditioners because they can't afford it.
Excellent point, both about differential heat levels within Sonoma Valley and about the economics of coping with climate impacts. John?
I guess, to the point of you saying that the fire and all the agencies are prepared and looking at all the issues, and we're considered in Sonoma, in the city of Sonoma, to kind of be able to invite people from the valley in for shelter. I'm not sure if this is something that the city would be having the resources for, or the county is giving us the resources for, but I like the idea of all the surrounding people thinking that they can come and use the resources in Sonoma, but I don't particularly know if the city has to, money up for all that themselves, and if we should be getting resources from the county for that.
From a parochial point of view, this commission, of course, is a city commission. So we want to be thinking first about meeting the needs of our 10,000 plus or minus constituents within the city. There is an urbanized area very near to this city. Some of us believe in annexation, some don't, but they're still part of the county. But many of those people would want to find available assistance in the way of a major heat wave. And it's going to be hard to turn them away at the door. So we need to plan for elbow room beyond the 9,999 within city limits, is my guess. Tom?
And all I'm really citing is that city council and staff have identified that that's an inevitable situation that they're going to have to deal with, and that they understand that responsibility. So yes, obviously we're going to try and collect the resources to be able to accommodate, but regardless, it's going to happen.
I just want to recap that the ad hoc committee is now going to explore climate crisis-related contingency plans similar to a drought contingency plan. And one of the hot topic plans is for extreme heat. Am I capturing
Hot
that?
plan indeed.
Does that sound?
So the hazard mitigation plan really talks primarily about wildfire preparedness and earthquake preparedness. Heat, I think, is not, probably for the reasons that Leo indicated, heat is on there, but it's not at the extreme attention level. So I think we're going to be going through the plan and identifying those things that we think are most, where contingencies might make the most sense, or at least for a conversation about contingencies might make the most sense.
Okay.
So because I haven't seen this elsewhere, we're in a little bit of terra incognita right now. But if people are aware of other resources, we will certainly review them.
Great.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work done on water and preparing for water, of course, for obvious reasons. Those of us that have been evacuated multiple times, there's plenty of planning about fire, but now we're talking about planning for climate issues that include water, fire, and other. Anything else on this topic before we move to metrics?
Yeah, just going
Yes, Kelvin.
going quickly back to what John said is, yes, we need, because this is a city commission first, so it's based on the city boundaries. But we especially do need to focus on the whole valley as a whole, because they still see this kind of as their own city. You know, I'm gonna tell someone I live in Sonoma before I mention Boys Hot Springs. You know, and I do think, this will be quick, I do think it's also, as a part of the commission, while we focus on the city first, we do need to focus on Boys Hot Springs and their climate, Boys Hot Springs, El Verano, and Fetter. I think it would be beneficial to help us work with climate if the city annexed them. That's my opinion, because the climate control is based on the county, and then you drive less than 5 minutes down the street, and it's based in the city. And I think it causes real differences in the climate action that can happen in the valley is, I think, limited by this. That's my comment.
A major issue of annexation, no annexation, that goes beyond the purview of this commission most of the time, but well taken, Calvin. I think, who's on the tap for metrics presentation? Tom.
I'll be brief. So, Antoinette may have more information on this than I do, but we did meet with a potential vendor. We've been in conversation with the Regional Climate Protection Authority, folks that are doing a number of metrics development activities in each of the climate segments. So they're in general, the RCPA updates the greenhouse gas inventory every 2 years, I believe, and the most recent data set was issued for 2024. And so we have, the basic trend is that while we've reduced emissions per capita in the building sector, we are continuing to grow emissions in transportation, and I think that's correct. Or if it certainly as a percentage of our overall pie, transportation emissions continue to go up. And also we are apparently going to be missing our SB 1383 solid waste methane-related emissions targets, countywide at least. I'm not sure what the city's profile is on that. But, and then the other dimension on metrics is, yesterday I participated in the Vision Zero action team, countywide team working to implement active modes of transportation safety. And they have a dashboard they're pulling together. This is under Department of Health Services funding to track where collisions are happening and what the county and individual jurisdictions can be doing to improve vehicle safety, mobility safety. And so a lot of work in that area countywide. The city's going to be benefiting from some of that. The valley's going to be benefiting from some of that. For example, the Safe Routes to School program, only one school in the Sonoma Valley District participated formally in that program last year. That was Prestwood. And of course, Prestwood's now a charter school. But the county has recognized that we have significant needs in some of the schools that are north of the city limits. And so they have been doing site assessments, and I believe they'll be doing that for some of the schools on Highway 12 corridor, because that is a disadvantaged community and by MTC criteria, and so it's a special place to focus vehicle safety efforts. The other thing I wanted to say on metrics, I said I would be brief. We covered most of this in the discussion of bus systems, but I went ahead and took a look at, we know that we doubled the amount of money we spend on local transit in our sales tax collections with the passage of the Go Sonoma sales tax extension. And so I wanted to see how much that extra money has benefited the bus lines in Sonoma Valley. And my initial analysis of this is before the newest route changes, which were just announced this last week, or just implemented this last week. But the bottom line is not very much. From 2021, we had 18 weekday trips from Santa Rosa, and that went up to 20. So a net gain of 2 additional bus trips, only 1 on the weekend, 16 to 17 on the weekend. And then we added the line, thanks to Jen Palladini's advocacy, the Ecology Center Board, we added a route once a day to Sonoma State and to Credo High School and SRJC in Petaluma. So, but in the Petaluma area, we actually, and we didn't do much on headway reduction either. The maximum headway went down from 155 minutes. Actually, it didn't change in Santa Rosa. Only the plaza up to Santa Rosa went from 200 minutes to 160 minutes. So think about that. You're waiting for, you used to wait for 200 minutes to get the next bus. That's a long time to wait for the bus. People basically don't take the bus during the middle of the day. When I took a quick look today at the Petaluma proposed changes, yes, they're adding new buses in the morning to make it easier to get to the SMART train, but they're taking buses away in the afternoon, which is when I need to get back from Petaluma if I took the bus over the hill. So I'll be looking into this to some depth with the county planners, transit planners. My current takeaway is that we still don't have much service. And then just before the meeting, I did this too. I looked at the county of Santa Cruz, and there's a metric there called vehicle revenue hours. Every transit district in the country is required to report to the Department of Transportation's National Transportation Database how many hours they operate buses in their jurisdiction. And Santa Cruz County, similar to Sonoma in the sense that it's about the same distance from a major, megalopolis center, but still relatively rural. It's a little more compact than we are. I mean, smaller county overall, has about half the population. But they run, their vehicle revenue hours per capita are better than twice as great as ours. So they have twice the amount of buses running around for half the number of people. Which made me think, well, that explains why Sonoma County's buses are so bad. And maybe we could be doing something more like Santa Cruz County. So I'm gonna have you asking, like, why aren't we getting more for our sales tax revenue? And are there some things I don't understand that are, constraints that we have to deal with? Santa Cruz does in fact have integration between all the cities, Watsonville, Santa Cruz City, and the entire county are all one system. So that might be explained part of the efficiencies in providing those services. But these are the kinds of things that as we dig into the metrics, these kinds of questions are going to pop up, and hopefully they can lead to answers that will get us what the community wants, better service, and ultimately greenhouse gas reduction.
That's an excellent example of the importance of a metrics committee providing insightful metrics for us to puzzle, and indeed comparative metrics between our county and Santa Cruz County. Thank you, Tom. Any other comments on the metrics before I move on?
Just a quick
John?
one for that. I would say an easy way for them to add some numbers to that would be to sponsor the shuttle around the town of Sonoma.
Well, that's exactly right, is that we may find through our feasibility and other research work that we are spending money in ways that we don't need to spend it, and that money could be redirected to something that a local shuttle might actually be more useful to the community and to the business community as well. And so, and the tourist community as well, assuming that we continue to have a tourist community here. So that's what these conversations should hopefully lead to.
I had a quick comment on that. When Tom Conlon was talking about like the issues of rideshare and the routes, I think the 40 is an amazing example of a flawed route, even this new iteration. I've never gone to even use it, and I only use public transport. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a driving permit. And I've never even gone to use the 40 because it only runs during the week. And when it does run on the week, even with this new schedule and the before schedule, it's an incredibly limited schedule that barely works. And the only way in the middle of the day or on the weekends is going all the way up to Santa Rosa, then taking the Smart all the way down to Petaluma, which is just not a feasible route at all.
That's for sure. John, Leo.
I think I put my red light on first, you guys. There is, you talk about decorum and rules. So back to the Climate Action Committee, Metrics Committee. On May 13th, I voiced and objected. Do you remember? What did I object to about the Metrics Committee?
I don't remember specifically.
Yeah. So you had told me on that meeting that on July 15th you should be done, and you would circle back to me a month before this meeting that we're having here, and that the group, I think Philip spoke up, everybody, I think you spoke up quite vociferously that you would come up with these metrics, and that there were metrics, and that we would go ahead and keep the metrics committee going, and the deliverable on July 15th would be a phone call from you to me that if I took a look at the metrics and where you were having trouble coming up with metrics, units, for example, are we going to measure things in CO2? People said that was a piece of cake. I suggested that some of these metrics might be difficult for the city and for this metrics committee to grapple with, and I would like to point out that they haven't grappled with it. You haven't grappled with it, right? You haven't come up today with which things will be expressed as CO2, which would be greenhouse gases, which would be temperatures. And so, one of the things that, I mean, besides fiduciary responsibilities, and to keep getting things done, I think it's good that that we're now going to work with the city council. That this committee is going to try and deliver to the city council rather than the city. But that to get anything done, we really have to come through with our deliverables. And I objected that there were some problems with the metrics committee. And some of it had to do with the city website. And it felt like there had been some even obstruction, like we couldn't get anything done. And it turned out we still don't have a website, right? A page, a platform that we can control to publish on. There is no publishing platform. So just because we didn't have a publishing platform, this committee said we wanted to go forward anyway with the metrics committee, and that they would come up with these units and metrics, and it was a piece of cake. So I would propose that maybe you've come up against the wall that I projected that you would, and that nothing would occur until 2027. Does it look that way now, that we won't have units until 2027?
Through the chair, I'll take that as a direct question. So I think, Leo, that's a fair comment that we did not produce for this month's report meeting a draft list of metrics for at least the priority climate action strategies. We do have a mandate from the city council to produce some numbers before the end of the year that the city can use to track. And in your agenda packet, Antoinette did publish 2 columns from this table, which is the beginning of that process. You don't see the many other columns that are in this spreadsheet, and that's because they're not ready for public release, because they're still work product in process. You will recall, as we met in ad hoc discussions prior to May, that we have a lot of different potential metrics that could be tracked and recorded, and I mentioned some of those tonight. So, but the reality is we did not accomplish the Q3, I guess we're in Q3, what I had assumed we would be able to share with the commission tonight. And largely that has to do with me going on vacation for a change, which doesn't happen very often, but I did get up to Sierra. So, but that's
good.
That's, yes, so, but that's just where that committee's work is, but I'm not saying, I'm not agreeing with you that we will not get anything done before 2027, and I think I can speak for Antoinette as well, as she's committed to making sure that we complete our mandate to the city council, because council's been very clear they want direction, or they want recommendation on what metrics we will be tracking.
It would be a website, right? We said we would have a website by the end of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No, now.
So just a couple of clarifications. So I'm looking back at our minutes from the last meeting, and the Q2 goal for your ad hoc was collect data, establish standard terminology, and build the internal tracking spreadsheet, which we've started. It has started. And so Q3, refine calculations, assumptions, forecasts, and budget-related tracking where appropriate. We are behind, but it's a we thing. It's, Tom, you're allowed to go on vacation. You're a volunteer. You serve on 2 ad hoc committees. And this project, a big lift of this project is on my end, and is part of my work plan for this year too. And I mean, as I know as you're all aware, and we've had conversations about it, I can only accomplish so much in 20 hours a week, and a metrics climate data tracking dashboard could easily be a full-time job for a number of months if done correctly. So at this juncture, I'll talk a little bit about the spreadsheet when it's my turn for my report later in the meeting. Right now, we are collecting data, and I'd love to meet with the metrics committee, and I would love to know from you what data you want me to find on the city side. And there's a couple pieces of data I would love your help with to find on publicly available information side. So I think with our brains together, we can put something up. And the goal at the end of the year was launch a public dashboard or dashboard prototype. So right now, there was a dashboard software that the Sonoma County climate team is in conversations with a company and working on it. It is also not a high priority for them right now with the other projects they have going on in their limited staff, but it is something that we have meetings with them about, and a possible dashboard prototype that they're working on. At this time, what I see happening at the end of the year to meet the city council request is to put together a static page on the website that is public facing with all of the information we've collected right now until we have other software capabilities available to us, which probably will be next year for that. But we can at least get information published on the city website for the public and for council to review.
And that sounds like a lot of really good progress that is being made.
Yeah.
While
Yeah.
there's still more to do,
Yes.
and vacations are central to one's survival.
Absolutely.
Nevertheless, real progress is being made.
Yeah.
And we appreciate
I mean, it's not like we're solving the climate crisis today.
By tomorrow.
By tomorrow, okay, yes.
And, yeah, and if I recall, it's only one person who also managing the website who also has to manage tons of other stuff for the city.
Yes, and our website is actually going through a bit of an overhaul right now to become ADA compliant, as well as many other government websites, which is stripping a lot of data out of it and then having to convert it to certain formatting and then put it back in. And our website has thousands of pages, unfortunately. So I am actively working on the sustainability pages with our management analyst in charge of the website, and that is another project that I try to devote a few hours a week to as well. But it is happening, and as soon as I'm ready for feedback for you guys to look at it, I'll get an email out to everyone and you can send me your thoughts.
Yeah,
It's not, I want everybody to be on vacation too, and, but I'm just, keeping the beat here, so you probably don't need me till the end of the year, right?
As soon as we've got some data that is organized in a legible way. I have a bunch of notes, and I think Tom has a bunch of notes.
I mean, I think what Leo's question is, are we going to be giving him, as a member of the ad hoc, a pre-release before the next public meeting? And
well,
I think
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, Leo's going to do the calculations and analysis of some of the data we pulled
Well,
together.
where I would be able to help is you're going to come up with some areas that you're not going to be able to conquer.
Right.
You don't know what those are yet.
Correct.
Yeah,
We don't know what we don't know.
yeah, you don't know.
Good conversation, useful, moving us forward. Anything else before we move on to the E&O Education and Outreach Committee? Is that Amber taking the lead on that?
That's me.
Thank you, Ms. Amber.
All right, this summer for the E&O ad hoc has kind of been the what are we about summer. Because historically our goals and what we have worked on has been creating, creating connections with community leaders, and it had been actually for quite a while working to update our websites and make it more accessible for our climate action and sustainability needs, but that truly got put on the back burner because Sarah Tracy has such a beast of a project in front of her, so we didn't want to overwhelm her with more website asks. What we have been working on, what we have realized really seems to be our goal is, as projects come up that city staff like Antoinette are working on, it is our job to kind of help get that info out as much as possible. You may have already seen the most recent, which news alert. If you need a new washer, we are offering a $200 rebate off those washers. There's only 30, is it 30?
We have 90
90?
rebates.
There's only 90 available, you guys, so get it while it's hot.
Limited time deal.
Washers, get your washing machine. So
Highly
that's,
efficient washing machines are being,
Yes, they have to meet certain qualifications.
yeah.
And
It's all defined on the,
Yep.
on the outreach. Whether
Yeah.
it's in a website or an email, I have no idea.
yep, we've got it all together. And Amber, if I can interrupt, I have another news flash update on the washer rebate program. We launched the program yesterday. Yesterday, I think the materials went out. We have 3 rebate applications completed. So only 87 more to go by September 30th. But Amber and John are going to get those taken care of for
And this
us.
is part of a reprogramming of other water-related climate monies that we weren't
Correct.
able to spend in an efficient and quick manner. So we have a
Yes.
reprogramming underway. It's a terrific initiative. Thank
so I'll
you.
keep going with the report and everything.
Keep
then.
going. Sorry, Amber.
So this is our way to revitalize and reuse those funds that we had from the cash for turf, because it still qualifies, but what city staff has found is that everybody that did it. There's not a lot of grass that really qualifies to use that rebate. So you were our prime example, and you tried to really put the word out there, but everyone was like, been there, done that. So this is a really great way for us to use that money to help out folks in the community to upgrade to a more water efficient appliance. So that is the most timely thing. That's something that city staff worked really hard on. So our job is to use the resources that we put together in the past, use our community leaders and outreach to those folks. The chamber has already been made aware, and I actually, as a business person with the chamber, I got the email today that included the rebates in their email, which I saw Mark today. I was like, thank you for that. Appreciate it. It's on the Instagram account. So if you have Instagram, share that. I'm going to do that later today. So that is our objective. That is the #1 priority for us until September 30th to get the word out. After that, Tom already kind of mentioned the Green Business statewide program that we're kind of revitalizing ourselves with a bit. The main intention of that is to work again in conjunction with the chamber and with the Visitors Bureau there's already businesses in our community that have done this, are doing this. So we want to work with them and see what the roadblocks are, see what goes into doing this, and have them sort of help be our benchmarks and our examples to help make Sonoma truly this climate smart community and have it just be the standard that we're just filled with green businesses everywhere and have this accreditation going. Those are the 2 big things, but I think it's just been, us realizing we did a lot of legwork early on, and until we have our website revamped and ADA compliant, right now our main objective is just whatever projects come up, we put the word out there and we see what we need to do and how we need to help.
Thank you. Questions?
I had a quick
comments?
question. When we do certain things like this, like you mentioned the washers and the cash for turf, does this only apply to residents within City of Sonoma boundaries?
Sadly, yes. I know there are other programs countywide. We just have kind of the biggest bang for
Yeah.
your buck.
Pending
you-
annexation of the Springs, that'll
Yeah.
be the case.
But if you go, I believe the QR code is set up where you can see, if you're in a neighboring community, you can see what other communities qualify for as well. So we at least link to, have that be an option.
I'm so sorry I always ask these questions. I just happen to not live in city limits.
I asked the same question because it is so close, and it's it is a limitation for sure.
So the washer rebate in Valley of the Moon District is $50. So the City of Sonoma rebate is 4 times greater, which is great because we need to encourage installations in the city. But the washer that my daughter just put in Boys, there's no way to get that rebate nobody wants to install it in their house and get the rebate, and never mind. That would be inappropriate.
That's only when you're on vacation.
Well, I did just rip out a gas dryer yesterday and put an electric one in, but I don't think there's no incentive for that.
The rebate is retroactive, so if a resident of Sonoma purchased a washer that meets the criteria anytime after June 1st, they can still get the rebate. Yes, there are rebates through the county for the Boys Hot Springs area, but it is us and Cloverdale that are offering the $200, the highest possible rebate. And it is in partnership and with Sonoma Water and the Sonoma Marin Water Partnership Alliance, I think is their full title. So, and they have the resources for the rest of the county who aren't in the city
And that's an excellent
limits.
example of climate smart Sonoma,
Excellent.
that we're ahead of some of the curve
Yes,
elsewhere.
yes.
And I have, sorry, two more brief comments. One is that the Urban Water Management Plan and Annette's report, Antoinette's report, talk about the AMI, the Automatic Meter Reading Infrastructure Project. And I recently came across a study, I think it was in Marin County, that showed where the biggest bang for your buck in a water conservation program is when you work with people directly to fix irrigation leaks in their existing irrigation systems. And our AMI system theoretically now is capable of identifying those customers most deserving of such targeted services. I imagine there might be some discussion of this in the appendix to the Urban Water Management Plan, which I did not get to read yet, but we should probably be looking, I'm sure we're starting to think about where do we really redirect our efforts if we're not getting it in cash for turf and in washer rebates. We only have 3 of them, 200 max, so we can't, that's not all the water we need to save. So we have to go on from there.
I would say to that point, I mean, I live over near West 7th Street, and I walk around in the neighborhoods, and I'll be walking around in the middle of summer, and there'll be like water flowing down the gutters, and it hasn't rained, or, you know, I'm like, where does this all come from, you know? And I don't know exactly how, as a citizen, to report that. I mean, obviously the AMI thing is a different thing, but just as a private citizen, I mean, do you go knock on someone's door? Do you call someone in the city, or not sure how that works?
You can call the city. The AMI is supposed to detect leaks, and I have heard of a couple people being contacted that there was a leak at their property when they were out of town or something like that. And you can contact the water billing department and report leaks as well, and then they can find the address and then get the proper people to follow up with it. To my knowledge, the water billing staff are probably cursing my name right now, but I think that they would be the right people for that, and if it's not abundantly clear on the website, I'm happy to make a note for that as well.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, that helps.
I don't know if this helps, but I know that the water department does do the report for the constant flow, and they send out courtesy letters every month to anybody who is showing a constant flow, just as a courtesy that they might have a leak.
And we do have fairly sophisticated meters now, water meters in this city, that should be able to transmit numbers that look like what's going on here. If something is very different from previous usage, all of a sudden they're showing bigger numbers. Presumably, maybe, hopefully, somebody's looking at those numbers and reacting accordingly. That might be worth a note over there just to say, from City Hall, just be sure you're looking at these numbers and looking for stuff happening.
It's been noted,
Good,
Chair
thank
Morrow.
you. Anything else on E&O? You ran a really good effort at the Earth Day event
And I
over
think-
at the community center. That should be noticed.
And I think that's something to note. We did the Earth Day event and how we want to what we want to do going forward, if events are things we want to do. I know that there's been smaller workshops that have been organized, so if that needs to be the effort more so than large events, or if we still want to continue to do large events as well. So that's, thank you.
You.
I do have something to put on.
We're turning to you right now
Oh,
unless there's anything else.
This is education
ready
and
to go to-
outreach related,
Oh, okay.
if that's
We're
okay.
still on 5.3 before
just-
we jump to 6.1.
Really quick, hot off the press, Zero Waste Week is sponsored by Zero Waste Sonoma and the Community Center here in the city of Sonoma. It is starting, technically it's kicking off on October 3rd, but the week it begins on Monday, October 12th. And so there will be a few more meetings with Amber and John to talk about the city's participation in Zero Waste Week. And there's already some amazing events that the community center does for this week every year, but we want to be sure we're supporting and helping and providing feedback on behalf of the city for these events as well. So that's kind of our next big social activity as far as.
Are the events held at the community center?
They sure are, yeah.
Thank you. Zero Waste Week, good. It looks now we're ready to move to the city presentation, city staff reports and announcements. Climate Action Strategy Status Update, 6.1.
So this is just a quick update. As Tom mentioned earlier, the spreadsheet is part of our work in gathering metrics and tracking metrics for a future publicly available dashboard. But it is something that I use internally so that I can prioritize projects as they come up, because the list of climate action strategies is vast. So what you have in your packets and what you're seeing on the screen is just a really, really quick update of the status of the 49 actions. You'll completed, not started, in progress, and then if it's on hold, I tried to say why, where applicable. I don't necessarily want to go through all 49 of these with you guys tonight, but I wanted to inquire if there are any questions, any red flags, any green flags, any white flags.
White flags. So I noticed under T4 and 5, these are the ban on new fossil fueling stations and reduced idling are both on the city council's approved work plan for us this year. And I just wanted to know if staff needs any support in getting those over the finish line this next quarter.
Well, they need to get over the finish line this quarter. They're the highest on my work plan. These are two that I'm actually looking forward to because I love municipal code updates and writing them and researching and analyzing them. So I'm really excited about this. As soon as I have drafts ready, because they will be, I believe they'll both be new chapters in the code. Addition, there may be some other edits for the ban on the drive-thrus and the ban on the fossil fuel. I will need eyeballs on the drafts, and they'll go out to you guys before they go, to anyone else, and then we can, depending on the timing with presenting to council, we can discuss them. They will go to probably planning commission as well, but first steps is getting the drafts done into you guys for initial review and edits.
Have you a target date for those two drafts in mind?
The target date for those two drafts is, well, it is still the end of August. August 30th is the date.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, I just mention that we did pull together a list of all the model code language for at least the new gas station ban and all the jurisdictions that had implemented it to date in the county and a couple of others outside the county.
Yep.
And I'll also note that the idling ordinance has become topical again. I've noticed in the
Yeah.
media, you've probably been seeing that. So there's appears to be a bit of a movement back toward that.
Yeah, both of them have become topical again. The no new fossil fueling stations has become an issue in another jurisdiction in the county as of recent. So both of them, I think, have good intentions, and we support them, and we will take all of the steps to follow the process for implementation and see where that goes with our city council.
A quick question. One thing I'm confused about, and it says connect the Sonoma City Trail to the plaza. Is that referring to the bike and pedestrian trail that starts around the Luckies?
Yes.
Because that goes to Depot Park, if I recall, which is basically the plaza. So that's the parking lot. The Depot Park parking lot takes you to the Sonoma Plaza.
I'd have to, so each of these is expanded upon the big climate action strategies.
There's not an explicit link between the plaza other than walking up either First Street or
Yeah.
First Street East or First Street West
Yeah,
to get to the bike path, and there's no signage about plaza and
right,
or,
Okay.
and there, I guess there's some signage about getting to the walk path from the plaza.
right,
But it has to do really with the linkage behind the mission and the state parking lot in that area and the bocce courts and so on. And
Perfect.
that can still be done and made more explicit, certainly for outsiders who don't know how close it really is.
and then that's where the connection to Lowville Road would be.
And that's on one end of the walkway.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. And again, more trees on the walk path, please.
More trees, of course, yes. Did that answer your question, Colin? Okay.
And I would simply note, in addition to, or amending the ban on new fossil fueling stations, maybe converting at least one existing fossil fuel station to an EV charger station. I've actually seen a Shell station like that in San Francisco on 19th Avenue on the way to the airport. So there's a model that would be nice, Shell or someone else, to take a fossil fuel station and make it an EV charging station. Be a nice addition to this approach.
We could do it at Jack's because they already have the record store there. No,
Perfect.
I'm just kidding.
Perfect.
I did want to mention about the.
Be a good location on that
It
corner.
would be about the new drive-through windows. You were talking about it being present in the media again. They're just yesterday on KQED, on the forum for an hour. They talked about the drive-throughs, and I'm sure it's a recorded thing. You can look up KQED and listen to it from yesterday. But it just provided color to the topic that I didn't even think about. So if anybody's interested, it's available.
Thank you. Any other items when you guys were hopefully reviewing these meticulously that stood out to you or that you wanted further explanation of?
Yeah, I would just, under B4.1, explore feasibility of community microgrids and multifamily solar systems. I know that we had a member of the community take a good bit of time to look into microgrids, and there are some regulatory and other barriers, but they might be part of the solution to the EV charging problem, is to have a community microgrid or a parking lot or adjacency to the Broadway substation. All of that sort of, that might be an idea to just resurrect if we end up really being constrained by PG&E's capacity and their schedule. That becomes the way to address that, and price of solar and batteries is just crashing. So a lot of independent commercial developers are really taking advantage of that right now.
And I remain particularly interested in the multifamily solar systems as an efficient way to meet, say, 3 to 10 houses with a collector that's then shared with separate family billing but with the efficiency you'd get of a much bigger system, properly located with solar flux in the locality of those houses. I think it's a really interesting way to get efficiency, economics, and lots of solar in a hurry. Instead of asking each house to figure it out on their own, 5, 6, 8 houses together makes a real package that can be incredibly efficient by comparison.
I think
It's
so.
another way that Climate Smart Sonoma could lead by pushing this. It's way different from the microgrid, which is designed to be unplugged from the whole system. It's a much
Right.
bigger deal. This is just shared solar with individual billing, but a big collector in the right solar flux location, meeting everybody's needs. And the right insurance and their various pieces that have to be shared. But it's not terribly complex once you're committed to it.
No, I think what would be really helpful with my limited bandwidth is the conversations that I'm having about potential grants and potential projects and cohorts that the city could be a part of for something like this. Is what often comes up is they want to see a project, like an idea or a location or a set. Yes, they want to see it now in order to begin the conversations. So with something like a multifamily solar system, what would be helpful is if there are locations in the city where this has been discussed, or just somewhere I can show on a map and say these houses in this area
You're
have
looking for
talked.
models within
Sure, or
Sonoma.
just
Yeah.
potential sites. Is there a location where there's actual interest for multi-family housing or multiple houses for something like this, so that we can do a grant, we can do a pilot program or something like that. But what often comes up is I need to have kind of in my back pocket interest, locations.
You want a scale model kind of thing to show a real model on street X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I can point it out on Google
Yeah.
Maps, or I can say these
Yeah.
6 houses have expressed interest in a pilot program. So, in your journeys out in the world, if you encounter something like that, a location example or a group of people who would be interested, just so I can have a list. So when I am having these conversations, I can jump in and say, yes, we have a spot. We would like the free money.
Yeah, we want one model to then replicate elsewhere, but going
100%.
from 0 to 1 model is a huge difference
Huge.
in terms of explaining.
Huge.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Yep.
The old MASH program, multifamily solar housing or whatever it was called, has been replaced by the virtual net energy metering, virtual net billing tariff program since 2024. And it's basically a way for multifamily property owners to share the benefits of an on-site renewable electric generation facility with their tenants. So if you are getting questions about that, or if you're looking for, like, not having to reinvent this wheel for this city to do, that would be the link. I think it's part of the Public Utilities Commission. I don't know if it's directly managed through BayRen, but it's under the PG&E customer, regulated customer programs.
All right, we've talked about T and B. Is there anything in S, W, W, G, or C?
In government, I was curious, well, Amber will sadly recall our questionable decision to include ineffective window sash locks, which are still, so many years later, popping up on this list.
In progress.
I wonder, what is it, Fairfield or the Sassoon just got hit by somebody that hacked their systems. Is there any way that we could, I'm trying to think of incentives to move these things along a little more quickly. I know that there's been a lot of work by Public Works on the building assessments, and tying these things up. We always thought that one was such a simple one that it was hardly worth writing it down, and here we are talking about it all these years later. So, that's the big question. The minor question is really, do we need to start thinking about a governmental municipal greenhouse gas inventory update, which David Leland and I did as volunteers to the city quite some time ago now. It's occurred to me that we might want to know, has the city, lowered its emissions as had been anticipated, and I just put that out there as something for another thing for you to think about. But that I can't speak for David, but I know the city didn't have the resources to do it on its own, but that might be something to think about.
I appreciate your enthusiasm for ineffective window sash locks. Thank you. Those are historical artifacts as well. So that item is in progress because I have a couple really cool things that are going on to share. One is a program, and I think I've talked to some of you about it. It's through the County Office of Energy and Sustainability. They have this municipal program called an energy efficiency roadmap, where they come out and assess buildings and help the city understand what are the results of these inspections and find funding for energy efficient improvements. We are currently in the process of having, called an EER, energy efficiency road mapping. We're currently in the process of having an EER done on Mercy House and the other historical building, the Depot Museum, which is wonderful. And we have commenced, as part of the Green Business Program, we are going to try to certify City Hall as a green business, which does include inspection of the windows on the historical building. And looking at that, my hope is, and with other staff, is that we have the facilities assessment that Public Works is completed, and my hope is to have this test case of the EER done on the two historic properties we lease, the City Hall being certified as a green business, and then we'll have a facilities assessment document, and using all of those together, we can maybe continue doing EER energy efficiency road mapping on other city buildings. We can continue to explore funding through Bay Rent, Sonoma Clean Power, and other resources for improvements that are needed on city buildings as well. And so, yes, I put that one as in progress because in some city buildings it is being looked at now, and it will continue. If we can't make our government buildings energy efficient, how can we expect residents to make their houses energy efficient? Does that answer your question? Yeah. It would be nice. You're right, John.
Hopefully
Yes.
that's an economizer, not an air conditioner at this hour.
Well, it feels very nice. Yes.
Okay, good stuff. Anything else on this topic before we move on? Watching our time, moving once, going once?
Yeah, under waste, we didn't talk about waste much.
Okay.
I
Sarah.
understand that we may be in danger of missing our SB 1383 compliance targets. That's the solid waste methane reduction. And have you been in discussions about what the potential penalties or repercussions to the city might be for that? I haven't yet heard any of this at the county level, but I am anticipating it.
I have been in a lot of discussions about SB 1383 as far as not meeting targets. That has not come up in the recent monthly meetings that we have multi-jurisdictional meetings about it with Zero Waste Sonoma and some other agencies. I absolutely can flag it for our next meeting, which I think is coming up soon. And there may also be like waivers where you available. I know that with some other programs coming down from the state, like with heat pumps and low NOx heat pumps, that they are recognizing that some jurisdictions can't meet and residents can't meet the new requirements, and so that they're doing extensions. But I will look into it.
Yeah,
Well, your predecessor, Travis Wagner, did a huge amount of early work with this commission and on the 1383 beginning compliance. I'm less worried about penalties than I am about understanding why we're now falling behind on our targets in terms of the ability to capture these materials from residences and restaurants and other commercial
Agreed.
buildings.
Yeah,
What's going on with the
Yeah.
failure to meet the 1383 expectations?
yeah, it's inherently challenging to change human behavior. And also, it kind of goes back into the outreach and information area. And while we kind of knew we had to do a lot of that, and we have set up a lot of systems, I believe, food collection and redistribution and mandates on larger generators of waste, food waste, et cetera. There must be some parts of the supply of that waste that are not getting the memo. And so we're gonna need to implement what is called, Cal Recycle calls them corrective action plans that they're gonna be sending out to the jurisdictions. At least that's what the state regulations say is going to happen. And so I'm just forecasting here that we want to try to be on the proactive side of this as a proactive commission. And maybe through our chamber and other contacts, there may be some opportunities to help get in front of this before it turns into a remedial kind of hand slapping action, as opposed to, we haven't gotten everybody who needs to be on board, and so Zero Waste Sonoma should be able to help us with this. And then, of course, with restaurants and other small generators, there may be, I believe there's a plastic solid waste enforcement procedure, and maybe just making sure people are aware of that. Because I've recently been given meals that were not properly packaged and had forgotten where to go. So.
Yeah. Well, I think SB 1383 compliance is something that's come on my radar recently. It's not my expertise, but I'm getting crash course through it. There are a few areas where the city could make some updates to the municipal code and policy to be more compliant, because it's changed since the last time it's been addressed by the city. And so that is on my radar. And as far as the foodware, the compostable versus plastic foodware, the challenge with something like that, and I've experienced this in another jurisdiction, is the implementation part of an ordinance like that, and then the enforcement. It's really challenging to simply enforce a rule like that and to enforce it equitably. And so that is a challenge that is also present here in Sonoma. And so I will absolutely follow up on where we're at with SB 1383. I will alert everyone of our status as soon as I know. And I will also inquire about penalty procedures, if there are any. That will be possibly taking place, so we can have a contingency plan and be ready. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else on the city staff reporting before we move to the final topic here this evening?
It's a lot to tackle, Antoinette, and thank you for your efforts. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Could be over 50. Oh, hearing none, let's move on to okay, we're moving to commissioner reports and announcements then, agenda item 7 then. Unless you have
Jennifer
more.
asked that I add 6.2 in there, sustainability
Oh.
coordinator project updates.
Okay,
And
yeah,
we talked about a lot of that already. She wanted to be sure that the commissioners had an opportunity to ask any questions about current projects that are happening in sustainability with the city. I did send out a very comprehensive email to everyone last night. I hope you've read it. If you printed it, I apologize. I think it was like 16 pages. But if there's any, Jennifer and I just want to make sure that anyone who has questions about what we're up to, that I'm transparent and I can provide answers. If there are any that you wanted to bring up here.
I was just wondering, is there any general cadence that you'll be sending out any sort of reports or updates going forward?
So, yes, commissioners will receive a monthly report within the first week of each month, with actions, projects, updates, things coming up, items that may need feedback or support on. So, first week of every month, you'll get an email from me.
I just wanted to thank you for that detailed. It was most useful in preparing for tonight's meeting.
Good. Thank you, Tom.
any other comments? That's it. All right, we are now into commissioner reports and announcements. Why don't we start with John? We'll just move our way across. Anything, John?
I have nothing right now, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being here, Tom. Anything
I'll
on
just,
your list?
Antoinette made brief mention of BachMed's Rule 9.6, water heater electrification when your old water heater burns out. The Air Board is exploring, and they published some draft regulatory language, and there are comments accepted through August 13th on those comments, or on that language. They're basically relaxing the regulations with exemptions for customers who are struggling because either they don't have enough space to put the heat pump water heater in, or they don't have enough capacity in their electric panel, or other reasons. There's also a proposal to delay implementation for a year. I will probably be submitting comments to accept the exemptions, but reject the delay. I can understand why a delay might be useful, because it is difficult to change human behavior, and another year would be helpful for getting more people aware. However, we have had many, many years to prepare for this, and the contractor community is totally capable of providing the service, and these exemptions, in my opinion, do go a long way toward relieving the burden on households that would be truly burdened by this new regulatory rule. And I think they say something like, I've forgotten the number, I want to say 85, but that might not be the right number. People in the Bay Area die prematurely every year from NOx pollution from gas water heaters, well, from gas appliances. And so this is why the NOx rules have been implemented, and I think we need to encourage that. So my question was, do we as a city want to consider making comments to the Air Board? I believe our supervisor is a appointed member of that board, and could have some bearing on that decision. I don't know if it's at this short date, if there's time to do that, but I just wanted to bring it up for consideration, because it is something we've been looking at around the table here for a couple of years now. I know we've had public comment on it as well in the past.
I've been in a few meetings with Bayren about this topic, and they are providing comments and in communication about these updates. They just sent an email out yesterday with updated language that they would suggest the jurisdictions share with their residents. I have not yet read the email in its entirety, but Bayren does provide pretty frequent updates on the changes with this rule and projected dates for compliance. So I will review and send that out. And I feel comfortable with Bayren's review and assessment.
Yeah, and I realize my personal opinion about the delay might not be reflected by the jurisdictions in Bayren, but that the exemptions, I think, have been thoroughly vetted and are well thought through, and will provide meaningful relief to those customers that need it the most.
Excellent. Amber?
Maybe a question. Is there a plan for, we're down a member, I believe, on this commission. Is there a plan to post recruitment? I'm looking at the website right now and I don't see it posted.
I love that question. So I'm still learning how the city of Sonoma handles these types of vacancies. I've inquired with the city clerk, and as soon as I receive direction from her, I will proceed with hopefully some sort of maybe news post or a link to the website, or maybe an informational sheet I can share, and maybe the education and outreach team might know people or have suggestions on where we can send that to fill this vacancy and any future vacancies. But as soon as I receive exact procedure from the city clerk on how we do this and how it needs to be noticed properly, if it does, then we'll be ready to go.
Would it be a
Very fair.
specific council member that would appoint someone?
Those would be those are my questions
Okay.
for the clerk, and then also if there's a noticing window
Yeah.
for the Maddie.
Rebecca knows all those details
Matt,
very
yep.
well.
So as soon as I hear back from her, I'll update you guys.
Yeah, and Calvin, you have any further inputs? No. Tom has one,
Sorry,
and then I
one-
have one to wrap it up.
One last one from me, and I just wanted to invite everyone who may not be already aware, the city has a capital improvement project along 3rd Street West to slow traffic down and to make that a more pedestrian and bicycle-friendly route, and really
Perkins.
at Perkins. They're planning, well, there's a number of improvements along that route that have already been implemented, but the temporary traffic calming circle that's been put in there on just a draft or a temporary pilot basis to get people comfortable with it, is going to be up for discussion at the Traffic Safety Committee meeting on the 25th of this month. And I encourage folks that care about climate action and want to see more active transportation to go to that meeting. And you know, I think it's going to enhance property values along that whole block. I do think it's also, if I was living there, I would be begging the city for very aesthetic improvements to it. I've seen beautiful traffic circles in some cities, and I think it's an ideal location for such a thing. That's my personal opinion.
And there are pictures on Nextdoor fairly recently of cars and trucks not quite following the circle properly. So it's going
Driving
the
over
wrong
it?
way around it.
Going the wrong way.
Just a left turn, people not going around, but just making an immediate left turn.
On the roundabout?
Ignoring the entire circle.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
it's on Nextdoor, somebody's taking video of it, so it's,
Well,
there's a whole lot of stuff going on with this temporary circle at Perkins and 3rd Street. Other comments? Okay, we're close to closing. I have one commissioner comment that this will be my last meeting as commissioner and chair, in honor of our former President Biden. Time comes when you need to know when the time has come to move on and not wait till it's too late. So in that spirit, I've been at this climate game in the city of Sonoma probably close to 10 years now. Fred Alabach and I had various commissions and councils and we at one point had a 4-member commission of 2 city council members, me and Fred, and the number 4 didn't do very well with decision-making. But here we are, and it's been a pleasure to have had the opportunity for some time, but time does move on. So I've already notified Jennifer and others in writing, and Rebecca Barr. So I wish you all well, and Godspeed.
Thank you for your service.
It's my first year and I've already seen 2 commissioners leave.